In this demonstration for BarTender Integration Software, we are going to create a new bartender label in Business Central. This will be an advanced multi-table label. The first thing we're going to do is click the magnifying glass at the top right of our page, and in the search box, we're going to type bartender labels. When our results populate, we can select bartender labels from the results list. And you can see we have one label created already. Before we create a new label, let's take a look at the available events we can print labels from in Business Central using bartender label events. I have bartender label events opened in a new tab already, and you can see bartender label events. This is where you can view a list of all available pages in Business Central where the bartender integration can be utilized. And in the fact box, we can see what table will be needed to create the label. For this demonstration, we're going to do a label for a finished production order. And we can see the associated table that we need to use is 5405 for the production order table. Now that we have that information, we can go back to bartender labels. From here, I can select new. And again, we're going to create a production order output label. So the code I'll use will be prod output, and our description will be production order output. Now the layout file name, this name has to match the label file name in the Bartender Designer software exactly. For this one, it's going to be prod output .btw. .btw is used because that is the file extension that the Bartender Designer software uses. You can see we also have a field called has default number of copies toggled off. This field will be toggled on or off depending on if you have the set value as default number of labels option enabled for a field selected in the bartender label table section of the bartender label card. We will review this option when we select our fields. For now, notice it's toggled off to start. And enabled is toggled off. When this is enabled on, we cannot make any changes. So if we want to make any changes, we need to have this toggled off. All right, so now we can select our tables. As we just reviewed on the bartender label events page, we're going to select 5405 for production order as our first table. We are not going to specify a parent table number because 5405 production order will be our parent table. Label per record, we'll discuss that when we get to the table that we'll be printing a label per record from. So the next table that I'm going to add is the production order line table. Now that parent table is going to be the 5405. That parent table will be production order. Still not going to select label per record. So now we're going to pick our item ledger entry table. Again, this is production order output. So the output will lie in the item ledger entries. Parent table for the item ledger entry table will be 5406, which is the production order line table. And this will be our label per record table. However, we're not going to select label per record yet because we need to select the fields or else we'll get an error. So once we select the fields for that table, then we can select label per record. That will be one of the last things that we do on this label. The last table I'm going to add is 27, the item table, and that parent table will be 32. We can tab out. So now that we have all of our tables selected, before I select the fields, I want to set up the table relations for all these tables, all the way from item, all the way up to the production order table. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is the production order line table. From there, I'm going to select the record, click manage, and then click table relations. Now the links that I'm going to add for the production order line, I'll select the ellipses, is status. So status from the production order table is going to equal status from the production order line table, which is also table 1. And I'll tab to validate. Now I'm going to add one more here, and that's going to be number and order number. So number from the production order is the order number, and order number from the production order, well, production order number from the production order line table is the order number as well. So we're going to link those two. Now that we have those relations set up, we can click close. But now we're going to have to do a table relation from item ledger entry to the production order line table. So we'll select item ledger entry, we'll click manage, and then we'll click table relations again. Now the first link I'm going to do here is probably document number. So from here, I am going to say production order number from the production order line table, and then that will be linked with document number from the item ledger entry table. The next link that we're going to do is line number. So line number from the production order line, and then line number from the item ledger entry table. I'm going to do a search on that. I know it's not up here at the top. It's number 92, and you can see order line number. And the last link that we're going to do is item number. So from production order line, that's going to be number 11, item number. And in item ledger entry, that's going to be field number 2. So now we have the item number link between these two tables, and that's enough for the links over there. We'll click close, and now our last one is going to be item. So we'll say manage and table relations again. And this on these two tables, we're simply going to link item number. So from item ledger entry number, it's going to be item number. And from the item table, it's going to be number. Okay, so now that that table relation is set, we'll click close. Now I can add any filters that I want added. So before I add the fields, this will be the last thing I do. So I'm going to filter, again, production order is used for, the production order table is used for finished production orders as well as release production orders. So I'm going to come up to production order. We're going to select the record. I'm going to say manage and table filters. And I'm going to add a status of finished so that we know what production order we're specifying up there. So now this is saying, hey, this is going to be the finished production order. Okay. So now that we have that filter selected to specify finished production order, we can actually start selecting our fields. Okay. So we're not going to select any fields from the actual production order, but we are from the production order line. So I'll select that field, that table. We'll select manage, and then we can click on fields. So from the production order line table, I'm just going to select production order number. That'll be the only field that we're using from this table. We'll tab out to validate. Now we can click back. Now the next table that we're going to use is item ledger entry. Okay, so let's select manage and add our fields for that table. Now for item ledger entry, I'm just going to select lot number. I'm going to search for it. I know it's 6501, but just to show you that you can search. So I'll select 6501 because I want lot number. However, I also want quantity. So let's click the ellipses. We can look for quantity. It's number 12. And then we can tab over. And now that I'm selecting quantity, I do want to set that value as the default number of labels. And what that means is if that item ledger entry record has a quantity of 5, we're going to get 5 labels based on this option here. I'm going to select back. Now that I've selected that, you notice has default number of copies is automatically toggled on now because it's recognizing that one of our fields selected down here is using has default number of labels. So the last couple of fields that we're going to add are going to be from the item table. So we'll select item, we'll select manage, and then fields. And from here, I'm just going to get item number and description. So we'll select item number. We can tab over until we're back, click the ellipses, and now we can click 3 for description. Tab to validate that record. And now we have the 2 fields from the item table selected. Now that we've all done, we still want to tell this label what label per record to print. Well, we know it's going to be item ledger entry because that's where our quantity is coming from, and that's where our production output is stored. So we're going to check off label per record for item ledger entry. Now that we've done that, and you can see that has default number of copies is toggled on, we can also toggle on enable because we're done with this label. The last thing that we can do here is click export layout file. And if I open that, that'll show all the fields with the table name that we have selected for this label. These named data sources will now be used to update the BarTender Integration Builder in the BarTender Designer software. And that is all that we do for this label in Business Central. Thank you for watching this demonstration for BarTender Integration software. Please check out our other videos in the BarTender Integration series. Thank you very much.